Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on Indian ethos in management, and in today's lecture of mine I am going to tell you about the foundations of new age Indian management, and this is going to be part 1 of our lectures on foundations of in new age Indian management. And in order to give you a glimpse of what exactly we mean by the foundations of new age Indian management, I'll be telling you about the framework of management theories and concepts, and where the role of Indian style of management comes, role of managers and functions of management also would be our topic of discussion. And then I shall be letting you go into the psycho-philosophical foundations of management, and eventually we'll talk about enterprise performance improvement techniques. So my dear learners, what is the point of telling you about the foundations of new age Indian management is basically the reason to give you a justification of why exactly we need the Indian style of management when we are working in a country where we are dealing with the different types of cultures, or what you call a diversity, and we have a unity in that diversity. So the style of management also differs. So in order to give you a glimpse of what exactly is the Indian style of management or the new age Indian management, where we have done some modifications and what kind of changes we are witnessing in the Indian style of management, that is something which I am going to tell you in today's lecture of mine. So let us start with the foundations of new age Indian management. If you look at liberalization and globalization, they have actually enhanced the competitive pressures on different countries and their corporate enterprises, and India is no exception to that, getting aligned with the very prospect of liberalization, globalization and privatization, to which we call collectively as LPG. We give an acronym of liberalization, privatization and globalization, and there is an acronym called LPG, and it has actually enhanced the competitive pressure on the nations and their corporate enterprises, and it has also led to increased contact between the east and west, and what you call as the world has become flat. And it is basically just to give you a reflection of the decreasing or reducing distance between the different part of the world. So the world has become flat, and actually it has become flat because we can purchase the product from any part of the world, and the same is the case of other customers who are residing in different parts of the world, and also the country. So when Japanese they conceptualized their experience of creating competitive enterprises, the idea of Japanese management was born on, or what you call as it came into existence. When they gave a conceptualization of their experience of creating competitive enterprises, we call it Japanese style of management. And now with the conceptualization of the Indian experience of creating world-class organizations, or what you call as global organization, the concept of the construct of Indian management is taking shape. And what I would say that earlier we have been following or practicing the Indian style of management, Indian way of management, but now the time has come when we are getting the due recognition of the Indian way of managing things, or what you call as the new age Indian management. So why I'm giving you a comparison of Japanese style of management and Indian style of management, just to give you an idea, because Japanese Japanese style of management, or Japanese management practices, they are very much popular, and many multinational companies and even Indian companies, they have they have actually adopted that style of management, and now they have realized that their Indian style of management is also no less than what Japanese are doing. So it has now taken a shape of an institution, and we call it as new age Indian management. I'll be giving you some examples in due course of my discussion on the topic. And I'll tell you where the traditional ancient wisdom from Indian scriptures come into the picture, and where we are using those techniques, those styles, or those methods for different functions of management. So in order to understand the development of the very construct of Indian style of management, there is a need to go through the conceptual framework on foundations of management. and that is something which we need to understand first, because what is the framework of what is the conceptual framework on foundations of management, that need to be understood and discussed at the very outset. And this framework is basically, it need to highlight the key ideas and what are the paradigm shifts in management theories and concept. That is something which is going to be the key point of that conceptual framework which I am going to present before you. So when we talk about the foundations of management, which is basically a framework of management theories and concepts, there is a review of existing literature which is needed to be done. And if we conduct that review of management theories and concepts, it indicates that the development of the concept of management can be looked at from various conceptual dimensions, or what you call as perspectives. And when we look at it from the different perspectives, and if we believe management thinkers of today who are basically talking about or propagating the Indian style of management, a framework of four-way classification of management theories and concept is needed. So these approaches are basically based on different perspectives, and those perspectives I am going to discuss here. The first perspective is that we need to understand the role of managers and functions of the management. We need to understand what are the changes in the role of managers who are working in this 21st century, and what kind of challenges they are witnessing, or what change that has taken place when we talk about managing the affairs at global level. When you are operating in a country, in your own country, and you are dealing with the problems of customers who are spread across the globe. So what kind of role you have to assume, what kind of role you have to play, that also need to be understood before we talk about managing the things or managing the affairs. And what is the function of management in that very perspective, that is something which is needed to be discussed and deliberated in detail when we talk about the Indian style of management, or when we look at the framework of management theories and concepts. The second point is we need to understand the self and the interpersonal relationships, that what kind of interpersonal relationship your employees are sharing, what kind of relationship you are sharing with your subordinates or also the peer members. We talk about 360-degree feedback, where even the employees, your subordinate, can also give a feedback about your activities, about your way of managing the entire process. So understanding not only the interpersonal relationships, but also understanding the self, that where I am, where do I stand, what kind of mistakes I have committed in the past. Because if we'll keep on doing what others have been doing, we'll keep on getting what others have been getting. So if I as a manager, I need some extraordinary result, there has to be a reciprocation from the side of extraordinary efforts also. So the equal amount of reciprocation is needed in terms of your contribution, in terms of your efforts, when you are expecting extraordinary results from your performances. So the second perspective is we need to understand the self and the interpersonal relationships which we are sharing. So after understanding the very role of managers and functions of management, and also the self and interpersonal relationship, the third point is evolving appropriate tools for enterprise performance improvement. What are the appropriate tools with which I can basically improvise the performance of my enterprise, my business entity? So that is basically evolving in nature. I cannot say that today I have developed a tool, I have developed a technique for my business enterprise, for my organizational setup, and I can rest on that, and there is no need to make any kind of change. See, since we are basically witnessing change on daily basis, so the tools are also supposed to be evolving in nature. So we have to evolve the appropriate tools for enterprise performance improvement. And lastly, or the next point is, the fourth point is, we need to understand the cultural context of the management, and that is something which is very important, and it is also accepted by the companies across the globe who are dealing with the cultural context of management, that what kind of organizational culture we are developing in a business setup. What are the do's and don'ts which you have prescribed for your employees, for your workforce who are working in Indian setup we feel that, or we believe that the organization need to be considered as a family. And when you are considering the entire organization as a family, the mistake of any employee belongs to everyone. So there is no there is nothing like playing a game of blame game, what you call. Rather than having a blame game, it is always appropriate to have a family setup in Indian style of management, where we take the entire organization as a family, and we have to take care of everybody's efforts, everybody's what you call as whether it is right or it is wrong. The responsibility is of the leadership, responsibility is of the peer members. So that actually, when you consider the entire organization as a family, what happens in case of any emergency, all other members who are present in that organizational setup, they are coming forward to basically extend the helping hand to the person who is in trouble. So that is the beauty of Indian style of management, where we consider even our workplace as family. So it is considered as an extended family. So your colleagues are no more your colleagues; they are basically your family member. The only difference is that it is in the context of organization. So the kind of culture you are going to develop, that also is very much important. So when we talk about the framework of management theories and concept, these are the four approaches which basically act as four strong pillars of new age Indian management. And I'll be telling you about each of the aspects one by one. The first one is role of managers and functions of management. So if we look at the 40s, 50s, the decade of 40s and 50s, there was a popular management, what you call as abracadabra. It used to be post-call, or it is a age-long acronym which we very often find in the traditional books of management, where we say that the guiding principle for any business organization, if I have to define the function of management, it is basically post-corp. And this post-corp is basically an acronym of different activities a manager has to perform, or what you call as different functions of the management which a manager is supposed to perform in a business setup. When I say post-corp, it basically represents planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling, and reporting and budgeting. So post-corp is basically the acronym of all these activities. P stands for planning, then organizing, then you have staffing, directing, controlling. In some literature you find in place of controlling you find coordination, and for R&B we have reporting and budgeting. So post-corp basically represents all the functions which a manager has to perform. So it is known as the principles of management, and the knowledge about management and organizations was usually classified in the decade of 50s or even late 60s under the broad heads of what you call as post-corp. So that used to be the principle of the so-called principle of management, and we used to study and say that these are the ultimate, the complete exclusive list of or what you call as the exhaustive list of the functions which you have to perform. If you are managing any business enterprise, post-corp is the list of functions which you have to perform. And less than this or more than this, there is no scope of extending this activity, which is not true in all cases, which is not the truth. In this approach, the focus was on role of managers and functions of management. It was basically considered as a technical activity, input and output, that you have to take those resources, you have to process with this post-corp, and then your outcome is coming in terms of efficient and effective management. And it is very interesting to observe that in the 90s, rarely you find a management book which is organized around these headings. So we could not even realize that when these functions, which were actually at one point of time regarded as the ultimate list of functions which a business has to perform, and all of a sudden it disappeared from even the books, which actually gives a reflection of the very evolving nature of the role and functions of management. So either you call it as a function of management or you call it as a role of manager. It is very much evolving in nature. Its nature is changing on a daily basis, and many many management thinkers, they consider this classification to be an old fashioned classification which is no more in practice. So the second aspect is the psycho-philosophical foundations of management. If we look at this approach, in this very approach, the focus has been on understanding the self, or what you call as individual, and the interpersonal relationships. And accordingly, behavioral sciences and if we look at the related social sciences, they provided some new management ideas, what you call as management concepts and acronyms. Numerous acronyms, ideas, concepts and theories came into the practice. And if we look at the LCM, that is leadership, communication, motivation acronym, the conflict resolution, change, empowerment, learning, etc. These terms, they became the new buzzwords for organizing the concepts and ideas about the business entities and also their management. During recent years, if we look at the the contribution of Indian management scholars, Indian management thinkers, they have been drawing upon Indian psycho-spiritual heritage, and they have also contributed many new ideas in order to give you a better understanding of organizational processes which are related to different aspects of management. It can be communication, it can be leadership, it can be motivation, it can be empowerment of workforce, and the list is endless. So those management thinkers who are basically focusing upon the Indian scenario, they are making good use of the Indian psycho-spiritual heritage, and they are contributing their ideas in order to give us a better understanding of the entire process of management, the functions of management. And in fact, some of the insights, if you look at the findings of their studies, and if you start interpreting their research contribution, you find that some of the insights gathered through the Eastern psycho-spiritual approaches, they have now entered the corridors of Western management thought. Imagine the kind of change we are witnessing. Earlier, whatever Western management thought Western thinker used to say, and that actually became the ultimate theorem, the ultimate principle of managing the affairs in any business organization which is working in the eastern part of the world. And now it has changed. Now the insights gathered through Eastern psycho-spiritual approaches, they are now entering the corridors of Western management thought. That is a paradigm shift, that earlier we were basically takers and now we are contributors. So the role change is very much visible nowadays. And an intellectual movement in India, broadly we call it as Indian ethos in management, which we are discussing here as of now. And this entire intellectual movement is now called as Indian ethos in management, and it is basically providing a foundational premise for application of Eastern psycho-spiritual ideas in corporate management. The way we can actually apply the rich heritage, what we have inherited from our forefathers, from our scriptures, from our ancient wisdom, how it can be applied into the routine functions or day-to-day activities of any business enterprise. That has now become the order of the day, and we have started talking about Indian ethos in management. The next dimension is enterprise performance improvement techniques. The next challenge is how to improvise the performance of the business enterprise as a unit. And this, if we look at this entire framework from this perspective, this approach is to understand. This approach basically to understand the management, this approach towards understanding of management came from the focus on enterprise performance improvement. And this key idea, the key idea from this very approach, it has been to develop tools and techniques just in order to offer an improvement in the overall performance of any business enterprise. And of course, when we are here to improvise the entire enterprise performance techniques, so the old tools which are now redundant, they are supposed to be discarded. or if there is some scope of modification that need to be modified, and also the new tools are entering the entire kitty of the business manager. So the manager is now ready to go for adopting whatever is good, improvising or modifying if there is some need of modification, and if at all it is redundant, or that tool is redundant, or that activity is redundant, that need to be discarded. So the entire BPR, what you call as business process re-engineering, that is going on on routine, on daily basis. So in a routine, it has become a routine function of management, which was nowhere in the acronym of post corp. So that change has now taken place, and we have realized that since our challenges are different on daily basis, they are changing, the entire business environment is changing on daily basis or in a routine manner. So why not our tools and techniques? Why not our way of handling those situations? Why not our way of managing the business processes which are actually evolving in nature? So a dynamic problem cannot be dealt with a static tool. That tool also need to be dynamic in nature. And if we look at the popular management tools, we have different techniques called management by objectives. We had organizational development. We were talking about business process re-engineering, what you call as BPR. We were talking about enterprise resource planning, ERP, total quality management. There are number of quality gurus who have contributed towards the overall quality management of any business process. Knowledge management, which has also emerged as one of the emerging area. Business process outsourcing, and they have evolved just in response to the need for enhancing the competitive edge of any business enterprise. And they are basically management by objective. It has got another extension of management by walking around. Earlier, the objective, when we were talking about management by objective, that objective was basically explained to the workforce, to the subordinates, and it was assumed that they will take care of those objectives, and they will get their objectives aligned with that of organization, and there would be an automatic achievement of the goals of organization. Of course, that is not going to happen. And now we talk about management by walking around. It is basically coming from the ancient Indian wisdom, where the hand holding is required. As a leader, there are different functions of leaders which are defined. I'll tell you about the Upanishad in due course of my discussion, where the role of a leader is very much defined. That the kind of activities you have to perform, you have to first guide, instruct, and in case your workforce or subordinate is not able to perform, there is an ultimate role of yours of hand holding. You have to basically let things happen, and that comes from the management by walking around. You have to be with your subordinates in due course of your business operations. So some of these tools and techniques, they were also found to be useful for improving the effectiveness and efficiency of public institutions, and also NPOs, that is not for profit organizations, which are not working in order to make profits only. They are basically for social welfare also. So for them also, these tools are of immense importance. And my dear learners, it may also be indicated that many earlier tools, previous tools and techniques, which were largely based on a rational approach, ignoring the intuitive and subjective aspects of reality, now we have realized that rationality is equally important along with the intuitive and subjective aspects of reality. So I cannot simply close my eyes towards the intuitive and subjective aspects of reality. I need to be realistic. So recognition of the reality as omnijective, what you call as a fusion of your objective attitude, your objective, and also giving due recognition and importance to subjective ideas or intuitive mind, is now leading us to the next step in the field of management, in the process of conceptualization of management theories, and also the concepts which are there for development of new tools and techniques. So this is the beauty of Indian style of management, where the rationality is supposed to be supplemented by the subjectivity and also the intuitive behavior of your manager. So if you follow this, of course you are going to find a significant improvement in the tools and techniques which you are using in order to perform your duties as a manager. So this next step is taking us towards the new management ideas, which is based on combination of rational, analytic and the intuitive holistic approaches. So my dear learners, in this way I tried to give you a brief outlook of the framework of the new age Indian management. I hope you must have understood and enjoyed today's lecture of mine. Thank you so much.